Live from the Drew Estate Cigar Studios in the great state of New Hampshire, the Gurkha Cigar Studios in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, and from beautiful Indian Trail, North Carolina. Welcome to the Spare Notes series with your hosts, Matt Tabacco, Kevin Acuff, and William Cooper.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Spare Notes series. I'm Matt Tobacco from SmokingTobacco.com, and I'm joined by my very good friends Kevin Acuff and William Cooper. It's Saturday night. We're live. We're here. We're hanging out. And we got a lot to talk about tonight. There's going to be the recap of Cigar Coop heading overseas to Italy. And who knows what else we'll get into. Maybe some of his pizza reviews. First it was sub sandwiches. Now it's pizza chain. I have a lot of input on that as a chain pizza guy myself. Not exclusively, but, there's a time and a place for everything. And, we'll just see how the rest of the show goes. So welcome to the show, guys. Thanks for being here. Gentlemen, it's good to be with you once again. How's everybody doing?
It's good to be back. It's really good to see Coop. I haven't seen Coop in almost 2 months.
I know, Kevin. It's really good to have you back. I was so excited when I saw you were able to make it tonight. So I'm glad, really glad.
Well, thank you very much.
We love you, man. You're a good guy. I'm so happy.
Love you guys.
Yep.
Do you guys want to get a room or?
Yeah, you know.
Come on. I'm just having fun.
Is there any way we can just boot him out and me and you can do the show?
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
No, I'm in charge. So. Man,
I thought Nicole was in charge.
Not here, not tonight. So,
but yes.
but we're here. We're doing our thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is good to have both you here. Kevin. Kevin also was at Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival last week. We talked a little bit about on Wednesday night show. So there's a lot of stuff, and then there's some stuff that's been happening that we're going to talk about and cover. Things are starting to kind of get busy again in the business, so hence why we are here. Anyway, everyone's starting to slowly trickle in, see some of the regulars here. Javier's here, Dan's here, Danny's here, Barbara's here, Trouble's here, they're all here. So, we'll see how it goes. First and foremost, Coop, I'm going to have you start us off with the recap of your trip to Italy, because that's the big thing that I can't wait to hear about, and we have so many questions. You're such a world connoisseur of just everything, so there's so many questions here that need to be asked.
Okay. So it was an 11-day, 10-night trip we took to Italy. I won't get into all the details, but originally it was supposed to be Austria. It wasn't going to work out, and it turned out it definitely didn't work out. I'm glad we didn't book Austria because I had something come up outside of cigars.
Well, you were originally going to go to Tobacco.
Yeah. Then I wasn't. Then I was.
Yeah.
Now I'm not. So it was kind of back and forth, but yeah. So we, it was. I had been to Italy in like '96, so this was my second trip to Italy. This time it was Rome and Venice. Last time it was Rome and the Riviera. So this was a little different. But my wife had not been to Italy because I was on business when I went on that. I went to a conference which was like up in the Riviera. So long story short, we flew in and out of Venice, which is, at first we thought it was a smart move, but because it's a smaller airport and it was cheaper. But there's a reason why it's cheaper is because it's a fortune to get from the airport into Venice because you gotta go by boat. That's there were a couple of challenges I had with this trip getting out. Okay, so and Matt, cut me off if you need to cut me off. By the way, if I go too long, just let me know.
Go right ahead.
But,
do your thing.
Okay, but there were two things that happened the days leading up to the trip. Number one is I got the flu. I think after we did Spare Notes, Matt, I got sick, and I was sick that whole week. Not COVID, but not, so it wasn't respiratory, but I was sick, and I was on Tamiflu, going to Italy. So that was one thing. But the other thing that was going on was this tropical storm, the one that hit Florida and like South Carolina.
Oh yes,
that thing was. That's the one that kind of stalled and was like raining. They were saying the day we were going to leave from Charlotte, 8 inches of rain.
Oh my God!
But 8 inches of rain is catastrophic for Charlotte. Okay, it's anywhere but Charlotte. And I'm like, there's no way we're getting out, right? And we were getting notified by the airlines to change your ticket. But I was feeling so run down. I'm like, well, if we get delayed a day, we get delayed a day, right? I wasn't going to sweat. But the storm went east of us, and we got out. So. We made it, which was good. But I was a little run down when we got into Venice. But we spent one night in Venice, then we went into Rome for 4 days, and we went back to Venice for 4 days. What I could say is, like, my wife did an amazing job. But, like, she should be a travel agent. She really planned this out well, and tried to keep us out of. Yes, there's some sites you want to see that everyone wants to see. Like, I had my cigar outside the Coliseum, right? But she did find a lot of the less touristy places, the places with a little more charm, and in both Rome and Venice. And that was really, I thought was great. We did a food tour in each city, which was amazing. And it wasn't like going to 5-star restaurants at all. It was basically going into a neighborhood of the city and experiencing the food and the culture of it. And we really liked that a lot. And eat little portions at each of these restaurants, but you're surprised how filled you get. So I made my bucket list item, I think, in Rome, which was smoking outside the Coliseum.
Yep.
Long story short, it was going to happen inside the Coliseum, and it turned out our tickets got canceled to get into the. You had to buy them in advance, and we couldn't get another ticket in that day.
Oh shit!
So,
jeez.
And it was 100 degrees, and you know what? We were like, we're not gonna fight this. We're just gonna go grab lunch somewhere. So I filmed the video, smoked a cigar in this like park area near the. But the Coliseum was like mayhem. Is all I'm gonna tell you. It's loaded. It's a lot of people. The pickpockets are out. You got to be real. It's not an area you want to stay in long. But I did.
Did you get pickpocketed?
I did get attempted. Yes. Yeah,
shit! Attempted.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but look, I'm not saying I'm the most savvy person, but I am savvy enough. Someone tried to stop me and talk to me and like say, "Hey, you got to watch out for pickpockets." And then I see this other guy behind me. I turn around to him, and he just takes off. But he didn't get anything. So they try to set you up there.
What Coop's trying to say is, when he's like, I'm a little savvy, what he's trying to say is, secretly, I know you guys all think like I ain't shit, but I'm out hard in these streets, man. I'm tough.
No, and to be honest with you, we also have learned to put stuff in the safety deposit box at the hotel.
Yeah.
And don't carry a lot with you. So, the worst case, if they would have got me, they would have got my driver's license and cash and one credit card. So, but they didn't. So yeah, that they do. Like I said, that area you don't want to be in for long, for sure. So, the food we ate, like the goal in Venice was to eat like Rafael Nodal. That was the goal. I was setting the bar high, and I think we did it. And in Rome, and I think we did a good job with that.
You did a pretty good job watching, like living vicariously through the photos you did. I mean, eating like Rafael Nodal, that's a very high bar to set.
But I hope he gave me a passing grade.
Looked like you did a damn good job.
I hope I got a passing grade. It was kind of funny because each leg of the cigar trip was inspired by different people in the cigar industry. The Perdomos love Rome, and they kind of inspired me on the Rome piece. And then Rafael, loves Venice, and he inspired me on the Venice piece. And they go every year. So, I reached out to them. They gave me some advice on neighborhoods and areas to stay. It was great. Now, cigar-wise, this is what people want to hear about. First of all, it was the worst time of the year we went to Rome of the year because it's hot. But more importantly, it's August 15th is a national holiday in Italy. It's the Feast of the Assumption. So businesses close. And when I say businesses close, they close for weeks at a time.
Oh, wow.
So I sent Matt a picture of, I said, Matt, imagine if this was in the States and it's a cigar store that's closed till August 27th.
Wasn't it La Casa del Habano?
It was a La Casa del Habano. Jose had recommended I go to, right? So before people, that's it. But that's not unique to that place. A lot of businesses do that in the middle of Rome and in the middle of Venice. There was a lot of doing that. Problem is, there's not a lot of cigar stores, and the places that do have cigars, you don't have a lot of walk-in humidor. I didn't see one walk-in humidor to the places that were open, and it was a very small selection of cigars, is what I'll say. So, if you're going to Italy hoping to buy like a lot of cigars, just bring your own, right? Smoking wasn't hard though. Like I had heard stories it would be hard to smoke in Rome and hard to smoke in Venice, and there were plenty of places I could smoke on my balcony, in the hotels I was in. There were cafes I could smoke in. You didn't want to smoke during the day because it was just too hot, but I really didn't have a problem smoking, to be honest with you. And Lisa had built smoking time in, but to be honest with you, I didn't want to smoke. It was so hot. You didn't want to be out there. But at night it cooled down nice.
That's cool. I remember the one picture you had. I think it was in front of the Coliseum, where the one lady was standing behind you that just had the god awful look on her face, like, "Oh my god, that's a cigar!
Yeah,
get away!"
That was hilarious. I remember that. I cropped her out, and I was like, "She ain't happy."
You know what's interesting? Though? A lot of people ask me what I was smoking and stuff, and they like, where did you get that? Where can I find? And I'm like, you're asking the wrong. I'm not from here, but I didn't find a lot of places. But I did tell them I was smoking the Perdomo 30th. I said, look, Perdomo is what I'm smoking, and they are widely available in Italy because Toscano does their distribution. So it's easy to find the Perdomo in Italy, is what I'll say.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I had known that they were they had a good presence in Europe. There's a few brands over here that do. I know that LFD, I think, has been building a nice representation in the UK. I'm not sure how much of the rest of Europe. Perdomo, Arturo Fuente. Davidoff's a global brand, so they're everywhere.
I remember seeing quite a bit of Alec Bradley in Germany.
Yeah, the Roma Craft is over there. Not to bring it up, but there's a lot of brands that we know over here very well. That actually are getting around in Europe now, which is interesting to see. Asaka has stuff in Europe, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
he does. I think Christoph's in Europe as well, and West Tampa does very well in Europe, from what I understand.
Oh shit, that's right. I did hear that. So yeah, it's which that's a whole tangent of a conversation that we could get into, that we partially have before in regards to the expansion into Europe and Asia and why. A lot of it has to do with Habanos, and it's a whole thing. But a lot of our brands are starting to expand into over there. They're not just over here anymore.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say is, man, physically it was a rough trip. It was a lot of walking and stuff,
Oh, I'm sure.
A lot of steps, especially in Venice. Everything, you're climbing stairs all the time.
Did you track any of your steps?
No. I don't have anything. My wife does that stuff. That's too technical for me.
Coop's like, I don't even want to know. It was just, it was a lot.
I sweated look. Let's put it. I drank more bottles of water, and I was drinking gallons of water. I was on that Tamiflu too, so especially the first few days, it was rough. Definitely rough. I could tell you that. But but I didn't tracking steps.
I don't know. It was a valid question.
The worst part for me going over there is the flight. I don't do good on airplanes. I just 3-4 hours. I'm toast. When you're flying over there, when it's 14, it's I'm done.
Yeah, it was. You know what it is? I actually did sleep because I was, like I said, I was still by the time I left, the flu was gone, but I was still kind of weak. But lucky, I wasn't fever or anything like that. So,
yeah.
But I was tired, so I was able to sleep on the plane.
Yeah, I always have a hard time sleeping on the plane. You know, like 6 hours, 7 hours is kind of my max. I mean, from up here in New England, anytime I gotta go to the West Coast, like anytime I go to, Las Vegas or anywhere like, the Southwest, that's probably like the longest distance, within the U.S. for me to go. And that's like, by the time I'm like almost there, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to get off the fucking plane. Like, I've had enough. Like, I get just, I can't sleep very well. I can't get comfortable. I'm 6'1", like it's, and unless you spend $1,200 for one of those first class seats, which I usually don't do, obviously. I just, yeah, it sucks. So yeah, what did you say the flight was? 14 hours?
No, it was total time was 14 because we had a stopover.
Oh,
But
the total time was 14. Okay.
yeah, it
Now,
was
see-
Dubai. Dubai was 14. I mean, straight from the U.S.
Yeah.
That was a rough one, Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I went to Budapest, we flew out of Philly, and it was 14 and a half.
Yeah.
That was brutal. The longest I've ever been on an airplane ever, though, was from Charles de Gaulle to Johannesburg in South Africa.
Okay.
That was
Oh,
that
from
was
Paris.
that was just a tick over 18 hours in the air.
Yo,
That sucked.
wow.
That sucked.
I've always wanted
Yeah.
to go to Australia, but I know that just getting to Australia, it takes like an entire day, like 24 hours. You get it for me, I'd have to go all the way to the West Coast, and then from like LAX, I'd probably have to fly like
Well,
direct.
it takes two because you cross international date line. So
Yeah, I mean, it really fucks you up.
I was supposed to go to Perth, Australia, and then I had sepsis, and the trip obviously I couldn't go. So Perth, Australia, just picture this: Perth is like the distance from Sydney, like it is from New York to L.A. So you go to Sydney, and then you have this other flight. Just think now going like another 3,000 miles after that. Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, that's why everyone always says, like, if you go to Australia, you have to go for, like, a while because you got to make that travel worth it.
Well, I was in Fiji in 2010, and it took me probably, like, coming back, it probably took me 3 or 4 days to just readjust my body to the time.
Dude, it takes me 3 or 4 days to readjust from coming back from the West Coast.
Yeah, because it's across the international date line, and then another 3 or 4 hours. So I mean, I was jacked. That was not fun.
Oh yeah, that shit sucks. That shit sucks.
It does.
But it's a big world out there, a lot to see. So we do it. But yeah, I haven't been that far. 6 or 7 hours is about as far as I've gone, and I hate it. So yeah,
I see my beautiful wife Barbara pointed out that I'm a baby on an airplane, and yes, I am a baby on an airplane. That's why first class seats are $1,200, and they are fucking worth it. That's all I can say.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a baby. I'm definitely. I mean, I fly a lot, so I definitely. I have my routine and I'm regimented, and I like to do things a certain way because traveling just sucks. And I like to make sure that I put myself in the best position. So, yeah, I'm a little finicky. I like things a certain way. But other than that, I wouldn't say I'm a baby about it. But I could see Kevin being a baby, 100%.
Oh,
I'm a total baby. So
when we went to Johannesburg, we had the first class. Like you had the little couch and the little cove in first class where you had your own TV and a little refrigerator, and you could get on the computer and order your food, and you had video games and movies that you can pick, and it was awesome. I mean, you could literally close the door and shut yourself off from everything. It was like being in a studio apartment.
Yeah, it's definitely how I would want to go if I was going super far. At that point, if I was to go on a really long ride, I'd be like, I'm only going if I could do this, because otherwise I'm not sitting in that fucking little seat for 15 hours.
I had one of those little cubicles going to Dubai,
Mm.
but I bought that. Okay, that was my company wasn't paying for that, right? So I bought that upgrade because it was going to be 12 hours. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm not going to sit in the seat for 12 hours.
It is so worth it, isn't it, Coop?
Yeah, and it wasn't cheap. I'll tell you that. It was like buying.
No, it's not cheap. Yeah.
But
But I bet you it's worth every penny.
Yeah, I think Johannesburg was like $5,000 the upgrade.
You know what's
But
interesting? So
I would have paid double that.
I've had this conversation with Nicole before. So Nicole grew up. Nicole was born here. Let's do the recap for those who don't know. Nicole was born here, but when she was young, her parents separated. Her mom went back to the United Kingdom. Nicole went over there, spent a lot of her childhood years living in the United Kingdom. But like in summers and stuff, when she wasn't in school, she'd go back and forth from like, her mom to her dad, her mom to her dad. So she's gone, in and out of England to Boston like hundreds of times. And I've had this conversation with her, and that flight is about the same as what it is from like Boston to Vegas or LA or like from east to west, right? And it's funny, like we get on these flights, we go to the West Coast all the time, and it's the same, regular flight, the small seat, it's uncomfortable and it sucks. The same distance. Once you go international, you got the bigger seats, you get a meal. I'm like, why is it that like,
You still pay for that though. It's not.
I know, but like,
that's not just coach class. You can pay for it in the United States if you want to pay for it, but
I know, but I feel like it's more like just regular fare, like when you go international, especially from like
not anymore anyhow.
Maybe not anymore, but like I feel like and I'm just like, why is it? We gotta, it's still it's still a long flight, same distance. Why don't we, get that here? I don't know. It's the whole airline thing sucks nowadays. There was a time when flying on a plane was like, all right, it's not so bad. Like today, it just sucks, man. I mean, I didn't know that the flight attendants don't get paid until the plane is in the air. Or at least that's what I've come to understand through stuff.
So that's when there's, as soon as they rotate, that's when their time starts.
Yeah, so that's why like before you leave and you take off. Sorry, there's a hair or something on this microphone. It's driving me absolutely insane because my eye keeps picking up a lot. That's why like before you're in the air, they are just the absolute worst people. I mean, when you're getting on the plane and you're trying to get situated, and they're just like, "Yeah, shut the fuck up and get in your seat," and it's just like, "What? Hold on, calm down." And then once you get in the air, they're a little better. I mean, they're still not like your best friend, but like, and I found that out recently, and I was like, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. A lot of things make sense now, especially in the last ever since COVID, air travel." Just it's.
I will point out to that to your point though. If you're super nice to them when you get on the plane, you will reap the rewards. You'll get special attention. You'll get they'll make sure you've got a cold drink, and if you need anything and whatever, they take care of you. I mean, if you're nice to them and show appreciation, they're going to show it back.
I gotta start slipping them tips as I walk on the plane. I mean, I'm gonna have to start being like, here's one for you, here's one for you, here's one for you. Now, I want this to be a pleasurable experience. Don't forget about that. All right, let's go. Drinks.
Well, they're sizing you up when you get on the plane, so it's like, oh, this guy looks like trouble. Keep an eye on him.
It's. I think Carney's still watching. I saw his name pop up. Carney's been in a. I got to be careful what I say because I don't know how much of this he wants out there. Then again, most of it he's actually shared on Facebook. But Carney's had a few entanglements in the air over the last couple of years, and he's almost gotten kicked off the plane a few times. There was one incident where he got into it with a flight attendant, and it wasn't good.
I remember that story.
Yeah. And if he was here, he would tell the story. But man, yeah. But I know the stories, and I'm like, look, I know he's my friend, so obviously I'm on his side. But I'm just like, I've flown enough myself in the last several years where I'm like, dude, I get it though. Like I see
just
it.
Like just bring the level down a little bit.
Yeah, it's just like it's. But I mean, I see both sides of it, but at the same time, like he's right. Like I mean, some of them are just. They're brutal. I mean, when I flew back from, I think it was PCA 23. Yeah, because I wasn't. Yeah, because Nicole was pregnant, so it was me and my friend Matt. So, it was a red eye flight, which I hate. But Nicole booked me on a red eye flight again, and I remember that flight was full, and we were at McCarran, now Harry Reid, I guess. And we're sitting at the gate, and it'll always be McCarran. and it still fucking says McCarran everywhere. They didn't even change the. They didn't even change it. But I was sitting at the gate. I had my before I get on a plane, especially a long flight, I go and I get food. You guys know this. Cinnabon's closed after 5 p.m. there, so on my
Oh
night flights,
my.
I can't. I know. You guys know. I know.
Not anymore.
Oh, are they open late now?
They're open till like 9 o'clock now.
Oh yeah, let's go. All right. Anyway, we got to move on before I get entangled in that conversation. But I normally they're closed if I do a red eye home or whatever. So I'll go to like Auntie Anne's and I'll go to like all the places, and I just get I get a bunch of stuff because I get hungry and I'm not eating peanuts and crackers. I'm getting food for the flight. So I got all my food. I'm getting situated. I got all my bags together. And I'm getting ready to get on the plane, and they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, this flight is full, and we're looking for people to volunteer checking their bags." And I'm like, my carry-on was my case with all like the cameras and stuff, and I'm like, I'm not checking this. So I get on the plane, and I get to my seat. I was in like row 13, and the overhead bin was full, and I'm like, what's going on here? And the flight attendant was just like, right away, just like, you got to put your bag in the back of the plane. And I'm like, but I'm sitting here. Why is this already full? Like, whose shit is this? Like, they're not like, there was no one in the row. Like, and I had 2 of the seats. She's like, oh, it doesn't work that way. Like, and I'm like, so you're telling me we got a full flight? You want me to walk all the way to the back of the plane, put my thing in the like row 35, and then I gotta wait for everyone to get seated so I can come back to the front of the plane. And then when we get to Boston, I have to sit here and wait for everyone to get off the plane so I can go against the traffic and then get off the plane. When I have a bin over my row, which,
That's why you always pay for the board first early boarding upgrade, so you don't have to deal with that bullshit.
And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. This really is ridiculous. It's like every time I get on the plane now, it's always something. It doesn't always with me, but like there's always something, and it's just like, oh god.
Did I ever share? I can't remember if I shared before my experience with somebody being removed from a flight.
What, you saw someone get removed from a flight?
It was gnarly. So we're coming back from Cigar Safari, which, I've told that story in and of itself. It's like I was on Cigar Safari when the civil unrest started. So I was down with Dave Lafferty and Jim Charlie, and they're all worried about getting us out of Nicaragua because of the civil unrest. So we ended up having to leave Cigar Safari early. We got to the airport in Managua at like 5:30 in the morning for a 2:30 p.m. flight. It was nuts. Spend all day at the airport. We get out. We weren't going to go, but we get out. So connected in Houston. So I connect in Houston, and my flight's 4 hours delayed out of Houston. Like, great. So finally, on the plane, I'm like dead tired. So I'm like half asleep. So we taxi out. It's like I kind of fall asleep, and then like I wake up, and we're still on the ground, and I look out the window. We're texting. Like, wow, did I sleep all the way to Vegas? And I'm looking out the window. I'm like, well, we never left. So the pilot comes on and says, yeah, we're going to go back to the gate. The weather's, we have a little bit more headwind than we thought, so we just need to top off fuel, which I'm like, okay, well, bullshit, because if you need more fuel, you're not going to go back to the gate. You're going to go out to the fuel area, and they're going to bring the fuel truck up, top off the plane. So they pull up to the gate, and they bring the air stair up, open the door, and then like 4 or 5 guys in suits go walking towards the back of the plane. I'm like, okay, that's weird. So like 5-10 minutes later, here comes 3 of the guys with the suits, and then there's a guy, we'll say Middle Eastern descent, with his hands on his head in handcuffs, and then 2 guys in suits behind him carrying his carry-on. So they take him off the plane. Well, then 4 or 5 guys in like white, like safety suits, whatever, like hazmat suits or whatever you want to call it, get on and start spraying shit on the overhead compartments and rubbing it with white gloves. And they're like, oh yeah, they're just making sure that everything, they're just making sure everything's clean. And this, I was like, I know what the hell they're doing. I said, So I asked the flight attendant, says, can I get off? And she goes, well, you can get off, but because they removed that guy, if you get off, you'll end up on the no-fly list. So, great. So I just kind of
Because you don't feel safe. You're the problem now. That makes no fucking sense.
Because they would assume that I was in cahoots with whoever it was that they got off the plane with. Obviously, they thought that he was a bomb threat to the plane because I know they were checking for explosives on the overheads.
All right, which I get, but at the same, all right, I can understand maybe you could take it that way, but not to mention the fact you just perp walked this dude down the plane and then the suits come on and you're like,
yeah.
What's going on? I don't want to be on the plane now. Now I'm afraid that something's going on. Like, of course people are going to be panicked and want to get off the fucking plane. And, you might be in cahoots. No, I just watched guys in Tyvek suits come and spray the fucking plane. I don't want to be here. What's going on?
Yeah, and then before we left, they had two TSA air marshals come on in uniform, got on the plane and went to the back of the plane, and then they stayed on the plane for the flight.
Yeah.
So obviously they thought something was up, but I mean, just that was a complete shit show of a day.
We got completely off a Coop story here.
One thing I'll say is I was telling my wife this because she hadn't flown in a long time since I think we went to Hawaii. I said, when you hear the pilot get on the intercom, the speaker, and you hear the two words, "Well, folks," it's bad news. Every time.
That's true. I've been there.
It's never good news. Well, folks.
That's how the news that we were going to Phoenix that time. Well, folks. I'm like, oh shit, we're not going to Vegas, are we?
That was TSA 23 or TPE 23. I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember Matt. You were messy. Matt's like, I'm gonna get a rental car from.
I'm gonna drive from Phoenix.
Well, Kevin and Barbara are on the ground at the airport in Vegas waiting for me, and I'm like trying to update them. Kevin's watching the flight aware and be like, "Yeah, you guys are going to Phoenix now." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "They didn't say anything to me," and I'm looking at it, I'm like, "Yeah, it says Phoenix," and still like the business as usual. I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? It wasn't like another 30, 40 minutes.
Well, we had
folks,
70-mile-an-hour
the airport in Vegas is
so.
closed, and I'm like, oh, now they tell us. And then I'm like, Nicole, look for rental cars from Phoenix Sky Harbor. And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And then I'm texting Coop about it, and he's like, you're gonna drive
you are
overnight through the desert.
When he gets up around Kingman, Kevin, when he gets up around Kingman, like and going down that highway, I just said, you can't do that. Nicole's pregnant. You're gonna be like, it's the middle of nowhere. You're gonna be in. I'm like.
Luckily, we landed at Phoenix, and an hour and a half later, we were back in the air, and we were in Vegas within like a half hour. And I was like, thank God, because that would have been a nightmare.
That drive sucks. I will say that I've done that drive several times. It's not quite as bad now since they have a lot of the 4-lane road done, Interstate 11.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's not completely done all the way down, but I mean, they have a good portion of it down.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Well, luckily we didn't have to do that, but it was being considered.
I have to address the comment from my friend.
I wasn't going to let this go by. Yeah, you should wear a
nose of her, Dave Wolf. Yeah, right here, Dave. How about that?
That's aggressive. Come on, don't treat the audience that way.
He understands. No, Dave is a very close friend, so he totally understands.
That you're a dickhead. I know. We all do. See? Come on.
Hey,
I'm just kidding.
I'm old. I'm grumpy. It takes a while.
You said it, not me. You said it, not
and
me.
We totally made a hard left turn from Coop's story.
Yeah, Coop. I'm sorry. This is what happens. We get sidetracked.
I don't know. I don't know how much I didn't. I mean, what didn't you hear? I think I gave the Reader's Digest. Where I don't know if there's more detail you want me to talk about, but
Reader's Digest. Don't show your age, Coop. Come on.
What was the best meal you had over there?
Without a doubt, and it wasn't a bad meal I had. We found this restaurant called Papa Rex. It's out by the Vatican. It's not in a very it's in a non-touristy section. It's in a residential kind of area.
Regular area, yeah.
Yeah, and we had a whole lobster once. We had a
the lobster. I remember that.
Yeah, the lobster over the linguine. And then we had the baked fish where they actually fillet the fish right in front of you.
Oh, wow.
Now, again, this is not a restaurant in a touristy known area, and Rome's a big city. Rafael knew about the restaurant. And we just stumbled on this restaurant. It wasn't like anything like we were targeted to go to. We just were hungry, and this place looks good. It wasn't that expensive, and we were blown away. Without it, that's the only place we went to twice because we really liked the food that much there.
Wow.
It's called Papa Rex. It's out by the Vatican. Ask for Paolo, your waiter. He's an old school waiter who kind of takes the waiter job kind of as an art, and I think you'll really get good service there with it.
Those are usually the best places to go, though, is where the locals go
Yep.
and the nice restaurants that the locals go to. That's where you go.
Then we stumble on a restaurant in Venice, right? In Venice, it's in a plaza, and it's called Aqua something. I forget what it was, right? Lisa, let's look good. We eat there, and we put some pictures up, and Rafael recognized it right away. He goes, "That's in the plaza." I'm like, "How the heck?" He goes, "I've been there." And it wasn't, again, this wasn't something that was listed in the tour books or anything like that. Because we had the Rick Steves books, we had all this stuff, so we knew where to go. But sometimes we just wanted a little place that was a little more, and this was kind of off. This was out by the Academia area of Venice, which there's a couple areas of Venice like the Rialto Bridge and St. Marco that everyone knows, and they're crowded. And folks know me, I don't like crowds, so we kind of wanted to get out of those areas for meals and stuff like that.
Now, let me ask you a question, because I mean, I've talked to plenty of people who've been over to Italy and obviously eaten. Which I feel like if you go to Italy, eating is like 65% of the trip.
That's why we did the food tours. That's why we did the food tours. Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's Italy. I mean, if you're not going over there to eat, you're not doing it right.
No.
But the question I have for you is it true that the meals are extensively longer than they are here?
Yes. It was kind of interesting. They frown upon finishing your dinner, getting your check and running. It's not how it works there. They encourage you to kind of stay, finish, you have a conversation afterwards. They are definitely long, which is, I am a little not patient when it comes to that type of stuff. So a lot of those 3-hour meals, absolutely the case.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of, I kind of see where you're coming from. I'm kind of like, when I'm done, I'm done. But that's actually kind of cool that they want you to sit, have an espresso and a dessert or whatever, and just sit and just, BS after your meal and just making an experience versus dine and dash, so to speak.
Yeah. Now, look, we ate out 10 nights, 11 nights counting the travel, right? I don't think we eat out, Lisa and I go out to dinner 11 nights for a whole year. So, I mean, that was a lot for us is what I'm saying. So, we maybe go out 3 or 4 times a year, otherwise, if we're not traveling. Yeah. So, and I tend to be patient. I tend to want to eat and get out. That's just me.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's me too. I mean, I like to eat, but I go, I do my thing and I leave, because I want to move on to the next thing. I don't like to just hang around in one spot. So I would have a hard time with that myself. I'd be like, well, I'm done.
People who know me at
go.
PCA will know that. Yeah, I just want to get out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you eat and you're done, and let's go do something else now. I don't want to waste half the day sitting in the restaurant. But I get it. That's how they do it over there, because they eat. That's what they do. They eat. So, yeah, someone was telling me one time, it was like, almost every dinner, and I think they went with a larger group of people, but still, it was like, every dinner that we had over there, it was 5 hours long. And it was several courses. It was you do the wine, then you do antipasto, and then you do a second round of antipasto, and then you do dinner, and then you do dessert, and then you do coffee, and and then some people and then you do wine again. And you're like,
those intermezzos too. The limoncello and all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
and it's when does it ever end?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we didn't go to any Michelin star restaurants. We went to really good ones. Very rarely will I take a recommendation. I'm not the one to say, give me a recommendation where to go, because I'm just so picky about what I want to do. Sometimes I'll ask the person if they've been to this place or what the neighborhood to go to is, but I tend to like to succeed or fail, and I think we did really well. I mean, like I said, we didn't have a bad meal. I mean, Venice is seafood, is what I'll tell everybody. It's, if you like seafood, you want to have it in Venice. The anchovies are unbelievable, is what I'll say. The hotel I stayed at, they had this appetizer of buffalo mozzarella, which I'm normally not a fan of, and anchovies, and I ended up getting it like 3 times in the hotel. Just I went out and I got it, and then went out on the balcony to have the cigar and watching the gondolas, which was a lot of fun. So, it was
That
great.
sounds like an amazing time.
It was very special. Yeah, because it was very special. Like I said, I was exhausted though. It was a lot of steps, and I'm 56 now. I'm not. When I went last time, I wasn't even 30 years old. So it was. I remember when I went last time, and we climbed to the top of the Vatican, and that was exhausting. And I knew this time not to do that. I said, that was exhausting when I was in my 20s. I'm not gonna try doing that now. I'll say this, and I've said it. We went to see the Sistine Chapel. I went to see it last time. I said it's a disappointment. It's a disappointment. All right, it is.
Why?
You can't take pictures. It's crowded in there. But going through the Hall of Tapestries and the Hall of Maps to get there is more interesting. They have the oldest artwork. It's amazing. That's more interesting. The Sistine Chapel seems very anticlimactic. Like I said, you can't take pictures. It's crowded. You're standing. It's trust me. It's, to me, there's a lot of. I think because I saw so much good artwork. By the time I got to the Sistine Chapel, I'm like, nah, because you walk down these halls to get to the Sistine Chapel and go through a lot of steps. And
where that's in Rome?
Vatican. Vatican
okay,
City.
Yeah.
So Vatican City is technically an independent country, by the way.
Right.
And I could have smoked a cigar in the Vatican. There were areas of smoke, and I didn't take my cigars that day because I didn't think I'd
drop the ball.
I didn't get. Well, yeah, and it was hot. But I would have been able to say I smoked in the Vatican, which, but I got the Coliseum shot, so I was happy.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? What's the one? What's the other one? I think it's in Venice. So this is gonna be a very poor example, but it's the only way I know how to bring it up. What you know how the Venetian lobby at the resort is like a recreation? What is that like the recreation of?
Wait, can you say that again? Wait, say it again. It cut out on my end.
You know at the Venetian, the resort in Vegas.
Yes. Uh-huh.
The lobby. It's like the recreation of something. Or what is that? That it's supposed to be like. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I don't. Yeah, the whole Venetian's a recreation of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but it's that particular. It's the long hallway, and the ceilings are also all painted and everything too. That's like another thing. I was gonna say, did you go to that in Venice too?
Probably not.
Yeah, because I know that's I'm like, it's not the Sistine Chapel, but I'm like, what is that? Again, I apologize. I'm not a world.
But I believe Lisa went. I believe that's in the Doge Palace. And because I know what you're talking about. It's got those like, and I think we have some pictures of it somewhere. But there was one. She went, like, Lisa was into some of the museums. I wasn't. So that's when a couple of times we had that plan. I kind of went over to a cafe or something like that, and she went through that. But I don't remember what it was. But I think that's in the Doge Palace.
Yeah,
I'm
not sure. But I know that's like another like famous one that like people go to. And
I have to say this, okay? The whole Grand Canal Shops thing. They do a nice job it's not Venice. I'm not saying it's not Venice, but they do a nice. When I get to Venice, I feel like I've been there because you go through the Grand Canal area.
Oh, so they got it right, I guess, is what you're saying.
It's a smaller scale, is what you're gonna like. When you get to Venice, you'll see it's much larger, obviously.
Oh, of course, yeah. I'd expect it to be.
Yeah,
and older.
Yeah, yeah. We the other thing I did is we took a European train, which I had never done before.
Really?
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
We took the train from Venice to Rome and then back from Rome to Venice. It's a little difficult getting to the train station in Venice because again, you have to take ferries and water taxis. That was a little bit of a pain, but the train is about a 4.5 hour trip. But that train goes up. I mean, they get an excess of like 200 kilometers, 250 kilometers an hour, which is pretty fast.
Yeah, that's zipping along.
And we did upgrade to the first class on the train. Oh, I should say we upgraded to like a business class, not the first class, but we upgraded that. So you have a reserved seat and you get some concierge service and stuff. So and they are really not. I had never taken a European train before. I should say I took one in England, but not a 4-hour trip. So
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure Nicole's done it.
I've done it to
England.
the outskirts of London pretty much when I had to go to Egham.
I think that's when Nicole's done it, because I think there's a few times when she would go back and forth. I think there was a few times where she would fly into Heathrow and then she would take the train up to northern England where her family lives. Yeah.
And I should say I took a train from this airport in Sweden to downtown, but that's only like a 20-minute trip.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long. Yeah. But this was the first long one I took, pretty much.
JJ had a question. He said, Coop, was there anything that surprised or disappointed you on your trip?
I'll say this: the disappointing thing was the weather, because it was so hot, right?
Right.
And it was like, this was not the right time of the year to go. The crowds in some of the areas disappointed me, and it quickly made me want to pivot to some of the other areas. The big surprise of the trip, I would say. So much I did.
We're waiting.
Yeah, no.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
I would say the big surprise of the trip was going into an area of Venice. It's called the Jewish Ghetto.
The Jewish
Ghetto. It has a different connotation. It was an ethnic area, is what it really is, and it had such a charm to it and a history to it. And it was quaint. It was quiet. The people were so nice. I had great coffee there. They do have Jewish delicacies. They had wonderful Jewish bakery we went over in there. That was just was a real highlight. We met some two American guys who with their girlfriends that were like traveling. They were going to go up to the Dolomites. We had a great conversation. Normally I'm not a conversational type of guy or anything. But it was a great afternoon we had up there.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, I guess I'm not surprised by that. I mean, we have stuff like that here. I'm sure other countries, they have their little cultural neighborhoods.
When you're going through Rome and it's really crowded downtown by the Colosseum, you go to St. Mark's Square in Venice, very crowded. You get into this area, and this area has so much charm and so much history to it. It kind of changed the perspective of that. The other disappointment wasn't a disappointment. I did have high expectations for the cigar stores going in there, so that's why I wasn't disappointed with the cigar thing.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't about cigars. Like I said, nighttime was my cigar thing. Lisa was exhausted. She went to sleep. A couple nights she came out on the balconies with me and stuff. But yeah.
That's one of the things I really like about Europe is they preserve their history.
Well, the one thing
really cool.
Rome is so much tied to its history. I had been to Rome, like I said, in '96. There were two things I only noticed that changed all about Rome. First thing is they're starting to. They always do excavations there, right? Because they have to be careful, but they are trying to build a subway, but that's taken a long time. So there was some construction with that, but there was a lot of graffiti in both Rome and Venice.
Really?
And when I was in Rome last time, I didn't remember the graffiti, and I asked, when we were on the food tour, I asked the person about this in Rome. I said, and some of it was some of it you could see was done at Esteli. It's encouraged, right? So we saw something with The Simpsons, for example. You could tell that was done. And then some of it's just vandalism. And that came out of the pandemic. That people started doing that during the pandemic when they were home. So they just started doing that. So and some of it was encouraged and some of it was not encouraged. So yeah, that was the one difference. Yeah, but it's kind of weird because you might feel unsafe, and it's not any reason to feel unsafe, is what I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hey, the pandemic changed the whole world.
It
did.
I mean, and I'm a mask wearer. I'm the first one to, and I did wear a mask on the plane, especially just in case. But I didn't have. But it was too hot to wear a mask. I'm shocked I didn't get COVID. I'm shocked we didn't get COVID, right? Because it's going around, and we were in some very crowded areas, and and people know I don't like crowds. So my wife doesn't like
I
crowds.
know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. Coop
You
is
know,
not a fan.
I'm not a crowd fan either.
one thing is, and there's an article that's going. I did the Rome article. The Venice article's coming up. There's this cafe in St. Mark's Square. It's called Cafe Florian. It's supposedly one of the world's oldest coffee houses. It's a total expensive place, but if you're a cigar history geek, I think you'll definitely appreciate it. Like Hemingway's been there. Some other people who've smoked cigars have been in there. You can smoke cigars on the patio out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely something I would say, for somebody, Hemingway's always romanced about in the cigar industry. So if you like cigars, they have a really, and the food is excellent at Cafe Florian. It's just way overpriced, is what I'm going to tell you. And everyone told me, yes, I know it's overpriced, but I don't know when I'll ever get back there. So, this is like my one shot to go there.
Yeah. Yeah. I would probably be similar to you. I would have like a list of things that like I had to see, and
Yeah. Venice and Rome are definitely bucket list trips for Robert and I. That's places we definitely want to go.
Yeah. Me too. I'd like to go to Tuscany too.
I had been to Tuscany, and it was just I wanted to go again, and Tuscany's got a lot of great medieval history there. It was, I'm glad we didn't, because it would have just been. We had one day in Rome. We were slated to go to Naples, and it was too hot, and we were exhausted.
Because isn't Tuscany like the wine country of Italy?
Tuscany's the wine country, and Naples is Tuscany's north, Naples is south. We decided to do Naples, but like I said, we were just exhausted, and I'm glad we didn't go. We wouldn't have enjoyed it.
Yeah. I didn't realize how hot it gets there, too.
It was, it's funny. I go to Dubai, they had record heat. Now I go to Italy, they have record heat. It's the opposite of Rafael Nodal, who goes places and it's cold all the time. Like I go places and it's hot.
Yeah.
That's because you're so hot, Coop.
Like Rafael will go to like New York City in like April and it will snow. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's not far fetched though. I mean, that does happen.
Yeah. So it's So the Doge Palace is another cool place in Venice to go see. Oh, we did go to Mass in St. Mark's, which was really nice. But there's no air conditioning in there. I'll tell you that.
Oof. Well, it sounds like you had a good time, and again, Coop, a memorable trip. You documented it well. I thank you for sharing your story and all your photos. I mean, just, like Kevin said, living through you.
Yeah, you allowed us to live vicariously through you. And it's like every time you post, I'm like, damn it, I want to go over there.
No, it's great. I encourage you guys, if you ever get a chance to go over there. There's an article on Coop about Rome. The Venice one will probably come out. I'm still working on the Venice one. I worked on it right before the show, in fact. So I'm hoping to have it out by next week. It's not a trip report. It's more of this is what I saw and observed kind of a thing. So
right.
And I talk a little about cigars there too. So.
See if Barbara and I ever decide to go over there, we're gonna have to reach out to you and Rafael, and you can put together a triptych. It's like you got to go here, you got to go here, you got to go here.
Yeah. Lisa, my wife, she has documented the trip report. We're just not publishing that, but we're happy to share that.
That would actually be really cool to take a look at for sure.
Yeah, she did that piece, but we just felt this. Like I said, I don't think people would be terribly interested in that, but the blow by blow. But like I said, I've kind of always documented on Coop when I go to a new place and like what's it like and what cigars are like there. So I always do that. So.
Well, I wanted to I don't want to say forgot because normally we do this in the beginning of the show, but I wanted to make sure that we circled back to our Dupont segment. That's right. Once again, our Cutters and Lighters brought to you by SD Dupont. Shake up the legacy. I know you gentlemen have your Fluo lighters. I have my Fluo lighter here too. Fluo Maxi Jet. There it is. Boom. I grabbed that kind of weird. There it is. You guys have yours.
I didn't take it to Italy, by the way, but
You
which I
did?
did, but no, I did
Oh, you
not. I
didn't.
wasn't chancing. This one
Yeah.
especially, I wasn't gonna.
But and Coop, I don't know if you've seen these yet. I have with me the Gradient Collection, Line 2s. That's right, the new Gradient Collection, exclusive to SC DuPont retailers, featuring, the Line 2s, iconic with the perfect ping, roll flint, the dancing twin flames. These are fantastic. This one right here with the black PVC, the yellow, red, black, gradient, multicolor pattern. I mean, this is phenomenal. Look at this. This is just badass. In the black, I mean, that just looks awesome. Look at that. These lighters are
Nice.
fantastic. The new
I
Gradient
freaking love
Collection.
that.
The new Gradient Collection that just came out. It's also available with matching rollerball and fountain pens. And again, it is exclusive to SD DuPont retailers. So
Show
make sure
that blue one. Show the blue one, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
That-
blue
that
one was.
blue- that
That's
blue
really
is-
not.
That's sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something
these are
tells me
fading.
that's going to end up on Barbara's wish list.
Yeah, I think so too. She had commented that she likes these. So, but yeah, these are
Yeah.
fantastic. They're really cool. Like I said, this is one of the newer collections that SD DuPont has been putting out. They're really cool. Really love the color schemes, a little bit different. So definitely check those out.
They did it. This was a big year for SD DuPont, and I think the
Mhm.
collection. They didn't come
I
out with
agree.
necessarily a new design of a lighter, but I think that with the things they targeted this year, whether it's the Floor collection, whether it's like Gradient collection,
The
they
Fire X
really-
collection was cool though.
Fire.
That was
Yeah,
a cool letter.
but they're going after a contemporary smoker. And at the same time, even I'm more of a classic guy. This is still really nice. I mean,
Yeah.
I've reviewed, like I said, I've reviewed 3 products, and I'll tell you what, there's not a bad ST DuPont product I can find.
Yeah.
No,
I agree.
I've never found a faulty one. It's like this floral lighter. I use this probably more than any other lighter in my collection right now.
Yeah, they really did. It's a nice. And which one? You had the blue one?
I have the blue. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's just,
okay,
it's
that's a
just
nice. Yeah, I got the green.
That blue is just so freaking cool, and just
It,
like I
it
said
feels
before,
good.
it feels good.
Yeah,
It's good in the hand.
yeah. If you see my reviews, my wife is the hand model, right? And honestly, I
Like
haven't.
George Costanza.
Well, you don't want to see, but don't want to see my hands, right? But honestly, I really didn't have to give her much coaching to use any of this stuff. So, she's reviewing a cutter of something, which I had to give her a little more coaching on, but that's a little different, and it's not an SC DuPont product. So, but that's really, but these are just like I said, you pick them up. And what I love about this is this is the Maxi Jet, and I love this is the closed aperture is really, I think, key. Keeps the dirt out,
Yeah. No, I agree.
And Kevin, I use this every day for 30 days before I review these things. So, they got to work out. They don't
Yeah.
ever misfire these things. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
Have had not one issue with any of my DuPonts, and I have like a couple older collectibles that I actually sent in to have refurbished, and when they come back,
Yeah.
they're like new.
Yeah. I was telling people, I also reviewed the Cigar Props lighter bleeder, and I was always nervous. Like I said, I've always had problems. I've damaged valves, and that thing does not damage valves. And I did use it on all the DuPonts, and it's flawless. So Kevin from Cigar Prop has a really good lighter bleeder tool. I'd encourage people to get it.
I have the original one of those that he had. That doesn't have the little cover and whatnot. It's just the the little like knob with
Yeah.
the brass tube.
Yeah, he's tweaked it. He's tweaked it a bit, which is good. But yeah, I have the stainless steel one here.
Yep, that thing is that's a cool tool.
Look, like I say, you use if you don't use something that's right. If you're gonna, some people don't bleed lighters. I like to bleed lighters.
You should bleed lighters.
Yeah, but they will
Yep,
damage these
100%.
valves, and I've damaged a lot of valves in the past. And that's why I was glad to see that there was a tool out there that really, and I feel confident with this prop tool that I will use it on my DuPont lighter with no problem.
Right.
You know what's amazing? What's amazing with that thing is I'm actually shocked that it took that long for somebody to come up with something to do that.
Yeah, yeah. You
Well,
know,
Zycar
when
has
we were-
one.
Right.
A funny story is when we reviewed that, Lisa did use the bleeder tool, and I gave her the Defi Extreme, right? I said, let's bleed the Defi Extreme, right? Someone complains, oh, you used it on your Defi Extreme, but you didn't use it on your line 2. Well, I don't have a line 2. Okay, so it's one of my best lighters. I used it on, like,
I use it on my line too every time that it's time to
I would use it
refill.
on my line 2. I just don't have one. That was one.
Yep.
Oh, you can't make everybody happy.
No,
Yeah.
but I mean, to your point, I mean, what a perfect tool to not damage your lighter.
Yeah,
to
and
to purge it and make sure the tank is completely empty before you refill.
Yeah, and what it does, it actually covers, it like surrounds the valve, and then you push on it, and the air comes out of the sides.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very ingenious tool, is what I'll say. It was designed where a lot of times when you bleed a lighter with a screwdriver, the stuff just goes all, it's probably
It contains the
creating more
gas. Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably not real. It doesn't do that here.
Well, then you nick the valve with the screwdriver blade or whatnot. And
I'll do it. Yeah,
you damage your lighter.
Yeah.
The one of the, not to change gears too quickly, one of the interesting things that came out yesterday. Jon Carney announced that he is already back in the industry, which, I mean,
That was like the worst kept secret, though. I mean,
I was
everyone
gonna say-
I think
knew that
figured
was
this out.
happening. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
took longer than I thought.
The teasers were not really effective, but whoa, great move, by the way. I was happy for him.
Yeah. I mean, Bentley Cigars, European brand, is going to bring it to the United States. From what I understand, it's currently only 2 blends: the Bentley Green and the Bentley White.
Yes.
The green is a Rosado. The white is a Connecticut.
Yep.
They will be available in 4 sizes: Corona, Robusto, Toro, and Churchill. And the pricing on that will be, I want to say it's $13, $14, $15, and $16 respectively.
Yep.
So very, very interesting. At first when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is ultra premium. And I said to John, I go, wait, what's the price point on this? And when he told me, I was like, oh, I don't know why. I thought it was gonna be like 20 plus. But yeah, very exciting.
And
Gary,
made in
you
Hoya,
sure don't
Nicaragua.
Where
Yeah.
you can
They
get
made a
them.
Hoya de Nicaragua. Yes, that's true. So good factory too.
And he shared a link. What was it, yesterday? I think, where you can actually buy them here in the States. So
Yeah, I think there's one
a
retailer who
shop.
already has it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's just think for a second what John did yesterday. By pressing a send button, how many people suddenly heard of this brand for the first time? I mean, it's just
Thousands.
thousands, okay?
Thousands.
And I get, yeah. So, look, I was talking about this a little on KMA this morning. I was actually messaging with John about this. There's not a good track record of success with European companies coming over to the U.S. Now, he mentioned Davidoff, and that's a fair point. Davidoff's probably the most successful. But in recent years, we haven't seen it. But when you got a guy like John, who is so, like, he's the boots on the ground guy. He was the front guy for LaFleur for so many years. How does this not a recipe for success? I mean, you brought probably one of the best guys you could bring in to do this job. So, and look how many people were talking about Bentley cigars that never heard of it 24 hours beforehand. So
You know,
I do think this is if anyone can do it, I think he can do it.
with all due
Yeah, it's like
respect
he had it's like he had all the ducks in a row before he announced it. I mean, it seemed like it was like one of the worst kept secrets in the industry, aside from who it was, but how he did it. I mean, it was definitely very well planned out, very well thought out. And
Yeah, I remember he put a picture of one up like a few weeks ago, and I didn't think anything of it. But then when I saw like 4 or 5 in a row, I'm like, yeah, there's something going on here. Yeah, and then I
Well-
started figuring things out.
with all due respect to the Gomez family, who obviously is a huge part of building that brand. I mean, even though John's not with LFD anymore, you can't say LaFleur Dominicana and Lito Gomez without mentioning Jon Carney. I mean, he still left an
he was
impact
there.
on that company.
Sure. And look, and I think one thing John did really well, he left the company in good shape, where I think, certainly it could be the work he accomplished, and I'm sure he's done a lot of work just on the, things in that company, from a
Right.
sales point of view and operations that are going to be carried over. So I think he left it in very good shape here,
I agree.
Yeah, and they'll be fine. And they'll be fine. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but to my point, I mean, Jon is definitely very good at what he does. Move like this, yeah, I don't doubt that brand's gonna do well here.
No, he wouldn't have put his name on this thing if he didn't believe in the product.
100%. If they were not good cigars, he would have been like, I just said,
I can't sell this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
he'll make it work.
Jon
other
could
thing
sell
is,
ice to
this
the
is
Eskimos, but
Mm-hmm.
not a fly-by-night company, and not a fly-by-night company. The Husters own this. The Husters are power players in the German cigar market, and they do a lot of distribution for a lot of companies. So, they've been in business a long time. They've been in the tobacco business a long time. This is not a fly-by-night operation here either. U.S. market's a different animal. Everyone will tell you that, though. We're different than Europe.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it will be interesting to see how it plays out here, but I have no doubt. I mean, look, he's already got hundreds of retailers he knows very well, who I'm sure he's already made calls to, and people who are going to take the line in because they trust him. And yeah, I mean, this brand's gonna start to grow here very quickly, very soon.
And here's the other thing. I had this conversation a few months ago on one of our shows. Green has become like the sexy color lately on cigar bands. Like people going, it was blue a few years ago. Now it's green, right? The timing's perfect to bring in green to cigars. I was just thinking, a green series, a green on white, a white on green. I think it's actually really good timing right now because green is a hot packaging color right now. So
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, Coop, we've talked about this on a couple episodes ago. This is another brand that's continuing the theme of just naming their lines after colors. Bentley green, Bentley white, McAuliffe black, McAuliffe blue. The Sans Pare, blue, the green, the gold.
But probably Bentley's been doing it longer than all those companies, if you think about it, right?
True.
Bentley's probably, because they've been doing these cigars for about a decade, I believe. So yeah.
But again, that's the other thing too. Is just doing your blends by just color name.
You save a trademark issue.
Yep.
It's very true.
I'm excited to see how it goes. Just watching Carney do his thing.
It's going to be
full speed ahead. Seems like all he knows. So
he'll do events.
It's going to be an exciting year for.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Oh, sorry, we froze for a minute. Sorry about that. Not sure what happened. But yeah, no, Kevin, you're right. It will be an exciting year, and I can, I kind of had a little bit of a heads up as to what he was doing, and and I know some of what he's trying to do with certain things, and yeah, he's got a plan and he knows how to execute it. He's been in this business long enough. He knows what he's doing. He'll roll out the events. He's gonna go meet with all the retailers. He'll travel around. He'll make sure he'll hit the road.
He'll build the sales force. Yeah.
Yeah, he will, and he'll do it. He'll do it. I don't. People, anyone out there who's doubting Jon needs to take a step back and reassess.
Yeah, and I got the impression from day one that Jon wasn't just gonna go to another VP job, right? And this. I mean, he's heading up the I know he doesn't have a title, from what I understand, but he's heading up the operation. I kind of always felt that it was going to be something more entrepreneurial, more, because I think, look, he worked in a family business for a long time, and yes, Bentley's a family business, but Bentley USA is a different. It's different. I don't know what the ownership situation is of that, by the way, but what it is, but Jon is going to be the head guy here. I mean, there's no question about that.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think that he'll be. I think at this point in his career, I think he's much better suited to kind of be his own boss. And he's
the drive that guy has is like second to none.
Yeah.
He's got a gift for building teams, and he's always brought in really good sales reps over the years. You've seen it, right? So I mean, I know some people left the floor. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of them join him. I just wouldn't. But I'm sure he's going to bring a lot of other new people in too. So, I think, like I said, I think that's one of his strongest gifts I've seen, knowing him for about 10 years, is he builds. He's good at team building, very good at it, and he's good at managing the relationship with his employees. I've seen that in action as well. People like working for him, and that's a good sign.
That's
I
huge.
agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Well, he's one of the guys that leads by example too. It's like he
You gotta
goes
lead by-
out.
yeah.
It's just like he'll grab the reins and pull everything through and lead the way. He doesn't just sit back and watch what happens. He's right at the front leading the charge. So
Yeah.
which is I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more from a leader.
Yep.
By the way, just so everyone in the audience knows, for some reason my comments bar on the side where I view and put the comments up, it's not updating. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
mine
why.
hasn't been either. It's like I was watching, like if I
What
exit
did
out
happen?
and if I exit out of the video and go back in, it updates it. But if I stay in it, it's like it's frozen.
It's
Maybe
for,
Alan overloaded it.
for me. It's yeah, probably repeating himself. He put like the same comments in there like multiple times. No, it's weird because I see it updating on my Facebook app, but on the broadcast system, I can't. It won't update, so I can't bring any of the new comments on, which is frustrating. But anyway, I'll try to just watch them from here, and if there's a question, I'll try to answer it.
So like my trip over this past week, I mean, it was nothing compared to Coop, but
Yes,
we had
tell that story.
we had an
Oh,
interesting adventure.
Rocky Mountain Cigar
to
Vacation.
Colorado. Yep.
Rocky
Yeah,
Mountain
we
Cigar
went.
Vacation.
Yep, we made our annual.
I do need to excuse
pilgrimage
myself
to
for a minute. I will be
Broomfield.
right back.
Right on. Yeah, we made our annual pilgrimage to Broomfield, Colorado for the Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival. Most of the people know, our friends over at Cigar Dojo. That's like their home event.
Yeah.
Where the whole festival basically starts out with a party at dojo headquarters that they have now coined Docella or Dojocella, and it's kind of neat to be able to see all the who's who of the industry all in one place. That's just at a party. It's not at an event. It's not at a trade show. It's just everybody hanging out and having a good time. And the Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest in and of itself, it's at the Omni Hotel in Broomfield. It's an outdoor event. It kind of has a country club vibe, and I mean, what a cool event! It's still to this day, Coop. I know you've never been, but I mean, to this day, it's it and the Great Smoke in Abe's event is like those are like the top two that are out there right now. And it's just so cool to be able to go and see everybody and, be in an outdoor environment that's, upscale. Pretty much anybody that's a who's who of the industry is there. We actually, I hadn't seen Alan Rubin, since
Real Alan Rubin.
The real Alan Rubin before the outbreak. We sat with them and, chatted a little bit, in Fort Lauderdale at their offices, and I hadn't really seen him since then. He was in Vail, kind of nearby, and Bradley actually got him to come in, so we actually got to spend some time with Alan Rubin, on Saturday at the show, which was epic. It was so good to see Alan. Got to see Boofy, and pretty much like anybody that's a who's who of the industry was there.
So here's my question here. How does the industry, and I've joked about this, but I'm being serious. The industry goes out there, okay? They spend Thursday over at Dojo, and then they spend Friday on this beer tour. Do they actually expense this? Because I don't see how that's like, I don't see how anyone would, like, I did that, my company. They look at me like I have 5 heads. Like,
I think a lot of it has to do with smoker friendly, because almost, I would say everybody that's there is a smoker friendly, buys their cigars and has their cigars in their stores. So it's kind of as almost done as a favor to smoker friendly. Is we're going to come here, we're going to do your event, we're going to have celebrities here, we're going to have cigars for sale, as a courtesy of you're going to bring more of our product into your stores. Is kind of
Yeah.
how I interpret how that works.
So this year I was thinking of going, and then what happened is the Italy trip came up, right? And with the dates were
Right.
too close. Because always it's been an issue of too close to PCA. So next year, I don't think I'll have an Italy. If I go to Europe again next year, it won't be that week, just because it's a bad time to go, is what I found. But
Right.
maybe I do it next year. I don't know if I do the beer tour. I'm not really interested in seeing the breweries, to be honest. I don't know but if there's smoking, I would go. But I'd rather hit some shops.
There's no smoking.
Yeah, I'd rather go hit
I
some
mean,
shops than do that.
yeah, Barbara doesn't drink beer, so typically on Friday, her and I will go. We'll go hang out at one of the local lounges.
Yeah,
I
I'll
know.
do that with you. I'll do that if you guys go. I'll do that with you because I'm just like, it's not. If there was smoking on the beer tour, I'd do it. But if there's not, I'm not really interested in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know my friend Sean. He owns the Smoking Cave down in Highlands Ranch. It's probably about a half hour south of Lakewood.
I went there.
And
My company's office is in Highlands Ranch, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you know right where it's at. So
Yeah.
so Sean actually also owns Davidson Liquor. So it's kind of cool because anytime we go to Colorado, I always try to find the stuff that I can't find here, right?
Right.
So we went down there on Friday, and Sean had to run out, but Crown Heads was having an event, so we got to spend a few hours hanging out with Miguel Chodell and Andy Yaffe from Crown Heads, just sitting in the lounge smoking cigars, BSing and whatnot, while everybody else was on the beer tour.
Right.
And then we went back to the Aloft in Broomfield, and Cigar Dojo and Zeno put on an event at the Aloft on Friday night, which ironically kind of counters the Mega Herf that Drew Estate and Rocky Patel does. That's actually an official event of Rocky Mountain at the Omni. So you had that going on, and then you had the party at the Aloft going on. So that makes Friday interesting, and it's for us. It's almost like we're on the industry side of it, right? So for us, it's almost like the event on Saturday is almost kind of a letdown because we've already seen everybody and got to hang out with everybody and whatnot.
It's like the Great Smoke.
You don't have to deal with the crowds, but from an event standpoint, they do it right, man. I mean, you have your VIP group gets in an hour early over the general admission group, and they have a VIP social group which just gets you into the event and gets you access to the VIP areas, but you don't get the cigars and the swag and all that. And it's really nice how they do that. And unlike a lot of other cigar events, when you go, you can go. Like the event starts at noon, VIP gets at 11. You can go at 9 and get your pass and get registered and everything. And unlike a lot of other events where you get the ticket, you got to go to each booth to get your cigars. You register, they hand you your bag of cigars and all your swag and everything right when you register. So when you get in, you can make the rounds to the booths, buy the stuff that you want to buy, see all your friends, see the celebrities, whoever you want to do, and then you just kind of hang out.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of like,
and it's really cool atmosphere. And the Omni, it has that country club vibe. So it's just it's a super cool place to go.
No, Eric actually was he was really wanting me to go this year. I just said, Eric, I'm getting back from Italy like 2 days before this starts. I'm like, I just can't get on a trip and I need to recover before I go back to work and stuff. I can't get on a plane to Colorado after this. Yeah, it was just way too much. And that's a long, it's 2,000 miles for me to go there.
Yeah,
so,
it's definitely, for us, it's a 2-hour flight. I mean, we had originally planned to take one of the Jeeps and, go do kind of a Jeep tour through Colorado and go over there, but we had issues there, so we ended up flying. And I mean, from Vegas, it's literally a 2-hour flight, and it's like an hour and 40 minutes back. So, I mean, it's just, a quick hop.
Yeah.
But on the good news standpoint, on the good news front from Rocky Mountain is there was rumors circulating that with the smoking regulations and everything in Colorado that the Omni wasn't going to host the event anymore. And from the good news point, they announced, I believe it was Thursday evening, like literally right before Eric went live for their annual show for Rocky Mountain, that the event actually got extended 3 more years. So it's going to be 3 more years at the Omni, the catch is it's going to be a few weeks earlier. So it's going to be like earlier in August than it has been. So typically it's the week before Labor Day. Now it's going to be like in like mid-August.
And that's not anymore. Since that's okay. If that was PCA, it would be a problem. But now it's you don't have PCA in the way with that. So.
Well, it'll actually make it convenient because typically, like when we got to town, there was a PGA Tour event in town at the time. So no, when we got there, like the airport was a zoo, which I mean, Denver Airport's no chore, no charm anyhow, right? But it was even more crowded than usual. And then like the bus and rental car facility, I mean, it was, like you were packed in a can of sardines. You get to the rental car facility and there's like 1,000 people there waiting to get their rental cars, and it was nuts. So.
Oh, I know. And that airport's out by Kansas. I mean, it's so far east of the city. It's out in the middle of nowhere almost.
It is.
In fact, when I went last time, I had to get a hotel by the airport because I had an early flight. And it was just like, I would have been coming down from Highlands Ranch all the way up. Yeah, it's like north and east. So
it's like almost an hour.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm not getting up 3 a.m. Yeah, so I got a airport. I went and did the cigar industry thing, which is get a hotel by the airport. Which I learned. That's what they all do in Charlotte. Is they stay at like 1 or 2 hotels that are really close to the airport, and then they get up early and get their flight. Is what I've noticed.
Yeah, we typically leave Sunday morning early enough that we don't have to worry about the traffic. So it's about a 40-minute drive from Broomfield over to the airport.
Yeah,
our only negative of the whole trip was the rental car. I had a bad experience with the rental car company that I'll never use again. We won't name names, but it's basically in line. It's basically in line with a list that you keep of your expenses. And we'll just say that.
It's budget.
I had a very bad experience with a rental car company. So it was weird. Like I got home and I get an email that says your rental car is late. I was like, well, I turned it in like 5 hours ago. So after 3 phone calls later, I finally get the receipt and the scan that was turned in when it was supposed to be turned in. But that's just nuts to be, back home in Vegas and my rental car is still active, which means I'm responsible for anything that happens to the car. So, if one of their guys wants to go joyride and get in an accident or whatever,
it's on you.
That's on me. So that was my only negative experience. But
so,
I mean, it was a good show. I mean, there was.
I heard sales were down this year, though. Did you get any impression with that?
That was one of the things I was going to say. I mean,
yeah.
Being on the industry side of it, so I wanted to go talk to everybody that we know in the business, and that seemed to be the major complaint was that it was down. And it seems like the first year after COVID, that event went through the roof. I mean, it was just nuts. Sales were off the charts. Guys were selling out, and it seemed like this year, kind of getting towards the end of the event, guys are breaking down boxes to make 5-packs and samplers and whatnot, just to basically break even for coming to the event. So,
I heard some manufacturers really didn't show up with a lot of product either.
They didn't.
So I heard, so Saka, for example, he asked people what they want, and he kind of figured it out. And I think he's ahead. But I heard a lot of people I heard a couple of companies didn't even show up with boxes; they showed up with samplers.
Mm-hmm. There was quite a few that, like, when you walk by the table, it was all fresh packs or prepackaged samplers or show special or whatever. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the taxes in Colorado, because smoker friendly handles all the transactions there.
Yeah.
So it's cashless. Everything's done by credit card. And the Colorado tax. I mean, it makes it a little bit tough on the retail standpoint, but
yeah.
I mean, I can't even really, smoker friendly. I think they do a great job with the event, and
the good people I've heard, and they've asked me to come several times, and I want to honor that because they've been good people. I've heard really good things about it.
Yeah, I think next year would be interesting to do some media coverage from the event and see, because I mean, nobody from media that I'm aware of covered it. So it would
No,
actually be neat for people, and I think it would actually be beneficial for Smoker Friendly to have media coverage, and
I heard the
have
Blind Man's
somebody
guys
there
weren't
and promote
there.
it.
Yeah,
They
I heard the
weren't,
Blind Man's Puff guys weren't there, and they usually do the blind tasting thing there. So I
and
heard
that
they
was
weren't there.
unusual. Yeah, because that's
Yeah,
Emmett. I mean, Emmett lives there, so
yeah,
that was really
yeah,
weird to not have those guys present.
yeah. I did hear the 5280 did well.
Mm-hmm.
The Dojo cigar. I heard it
They
sold out, and
sold out.
I
They
heard
sold out.
good things about. I heard good things about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Dojo. They did well. They released a new paleo lighter, and they sold out. And then they had a cool like a Coors Light inspired T-shirt that was like a big revenue hit for those guys. I mean, a lot of people go there because of Dojo. So I mean that's
Well,
Eric
he
and
used to
Jordan.
do,
That's their HQ, and I mean they have a ton of support behind that, and a ton of support from the industry, and they do a great job there, and it's always good to see those guys. I mean Eric
yeah.
and Jordan are very dear friends of mine and yours, so I mean what that's all about. So
Yeah, they used to do remember years ago they used to do their like whatever their party. They
mm-hmm.
used to do it at PCA, IPCPR back then. And then I think they figured, and people would fly out there, and then they figured that was their event. And then they figured out, I think it was why not do it with Rocky Mountain? It's in their home base. And
Yep. Yeah, I planned a couple of the parties here for Dojo for PCA, and I mean it's definitely much more beneficial for those guys to stick with it and do it the way they do it.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, I saw the Dojo cutter, but this cut is better.
There you go. Look at that.
Coop.
These are highly limited, and this is my only one I have. There was a limited
one of one,
done
highly limited.
No, there was a few of these done by Joe Grow. But they were never put up for sale. We gave a few away, and that was it pretty much. But yeah.
The Bob had said no All Saints, so Mickey Peg All Saints, they weren't there.
Yeah, Mickey All Saints wasn't there. McAuliffe wasn't there.
But Mickey was up. Mickey was doing. I think he was committed to two guys for some events.
That's right. He was up here.
Yeah.
I thought he had that, didn't he? I believe he had some. I think school stuff with one of his daughters as well. I think that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I noticed when we walked by, there was a couple empty booths. With names up. I can't remember the names of the brands that didn't show, but I mean there was some that didn't show. Colorado passed they didn't show up at all. Colorado passed a new law recently too that you can't purchase tobacco while consuming alcohol. So one of the big things and one of the big draws of Rocky Mountain is they have alcohol vendors that that have samples. You get a ticket, you get a shot glass and a ticket in your bag that you can go to the alcohol vendors and get a sample of whatever. This year, like in years past, the alcohol vendors were kind of scattered throughout. This year, all the alcohol vendors were grouped in the middle. So you had cigars, then you had the alcohol group, and then you had the rest of your cigars. So all the alcohol vendors were all grouped in the middle of the event. So that was a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, I would say without getting too deep into it, that's just another example of an overreach.
Overregulation.
Overreaching. Yeah, that's. Yeah. What are you gonna do? It's.
But the weather was nice. They had Barbara and I left probably about 1:30 to go have lunch or whatnot, and they had a torrential downpour about 3:00. So that lasted for probably 20 minutes or so. So, and the event typically ended at 5. This year it went till 6. So I don't know if the rain had any impact on the event, but weather for the most part was nice. It was a little bit warm. So people were seeking shade.
I was just going to ask you about the weather there too. Which I know is unpredictable. When I was out in Colorado last time, it was January. It was in the 70s, actually. The last day I was there. It wasn't in the 70s when I went to Red Rocks, but because it was cold that morning. But
I think it was 92 on event day.
Wow.
So it was of course the hottest day of the week, of course, right?
Yeah.
But it
Yep.
was a little bit overcast. So I mean, it wasn't direct sun.
That always helps.
Did
But
you d- did you notice a lot of principals weren't there this year? That's something I noticed. That it seemed like a lot of the big names weren't there this year.
they had several. But I mean, a few key players missing, I guess. But I mean,
Like normally, I
there
remember
was there
Jonathan
was a
Drew would
lot
do
of
that
them.
event every year, for example, and
Yeah,
I
JD
just
JD wasn't there, for Drew Estate. They had Pedro and Izzy were there for Drew Estate.
yeah, yeah,
Um, Bobby Newman. We Bobby Newman pulled us aside, and we had about an hour conversation with Bobby Newman, which is about a typical Bobby Newman conversation, right? We
yeah,
absolutely love Bobby.
yeah. Great
You know,
guy.
um, Tom Lazuka. I didn't even like. We're sitting. Barbara and I were sitting on Wednesday night out at the loft, just out in the courtyard having a cigar, and Lazuka walks up and he's walking up and goes, "Hey, can I come join you guys?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he kind of walks up and sits down, and I'm looking at him. He starts talking. I'm like, "Holy shit, Lazuka!" It's like he cut his hair, cut his beard, lost a ton of weight.
Well, he had
I
some
didn't
health
even,
issues last year. He had a couple of
yeah,
health
I didn't
issues
even
after
didn't
PCR
even
last year.
recognize him. It's like, holy cow, he looks so
Yeah,
good.
yeah. No, I'm glad he
So
was there, but he had to miss it
so
last
that
year. I
was
know that
cool.
because he had those. Yeah, he had a
Okay.
health scare last year. Because
Yeah,
remember,
Kevin was telling me that.
he wasn't at PCA last year either.
Right.
So, but he's doing great. He looked great. I know that.
I'm trying
Yeah,
to remember. Like, did I
he
see him
looked
at PCA this
outstanding.
year?
Yeah, he was there.
He was there. He wasn't
Yeah.
there
He was there.
last year.
He wasn't there last year. Yeah,
Yeah, he looks really good.
good for him.
And
Good one.
ornery as ever. I mean, Tom is Tom, right? But I mean, it's like that was just super cool. I felt like an idiot, like when he walked up and sat down, that I didn't recognize him, and it's like, oh my god.
Did you say Saka lost a lot of weight too?
Yeah, Saka looked good too. Saka's lost a lot of weight.
Abe lost weight. Abe looks really good, by the way.
Yeah, Abe did lose weight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's losing weight. Everyone's doing good, taking care of themselves.
Jose noticed it though.
Yeah, that's
But-
true.
but to
You,
your-
you haven't lost weight until Jose Blanco's like, oh, you're looking good.
But to your point about the retail sales, Coop, I talked to like several vendors that were talking about, they said, we saw the guys like the general mission people that come in that have to bring chairs or whatnot to sit in. He says, I watched several groups of guys that came in and set up across from our booth, in the grass and the shade and whatnot, set their chairs up. And he goes, those guys literally, they set up their chairs and they never left.
Yep.
He says they never came to the thing, never bought, they didn't see him go get anything for anybody. They dug through their swag bags of cigars and whatnot, and smoked cigars and sat and BS'd and packed up and left at the end of the event.
Yeah, see, that's the one thing I always got to be careful of is I don't want to park myself too long there. I don't do a lot of buying at these events, despite the fact there's better prices. Look, we get stuff for free, but here's the other thing: forget the free stuff, right? Because yes, we get free stuff, but yes, I buy stuff, and I have to go to so many retailers every year and spread the love.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
so
Well,
a lot of
that's
times I'm spending
what we
budget
do
on
too.
that stuff. Yeah.
I'll have my like the certain ones that we're tight with that I'll go and
Yeah.
show love for them. We'll buy something from the event, or if they have one of the events, like Crown Heads has their thing. Nick Malello has his thing at Havana Manor. We'll go see those guys and
Right.
we'll buy from them there. Just support the store and support the brand. That's what it's all about. Because it's yes, we're in the industry like you said, but it's not about free stuff. These guys don't make money by giving us free cigars, so we want to show as much love as we can throughout the year by buying their product, right? So we definitely, anytime I go to Rocky Mountain, I always spend more than I had planned to buy. But we'll walk by a booth and somebody will have a cool sampler, or somebody will have a cigar that hasn't been on the market for a while or whatnot, and it's like, oh wow, I haven't seen those in years, and boom. Next thing you know, I have a suitcase full of cigars to have to come home to Vegas.
Yeah.
Always the way. It's always the way. But yeah, to Coop's point too. I mean, most of my stuff I buy through Two Guys Smoke Shop, but there are other retailers that, I buy certain things from too. There are certain things that two guys doesn't carry, and I've tried to set myself up so I get certain things from certain retailers, which I really won't get into. But while also trying to spread the love and take care of some obviously I have a lot of
Yep.
friends who own retail shops all around the country. So I try to show them some love too. So yeah, I mean it's I Coop makes a very good point.
Mhm.
We have a lot of friends in the business that own retail establishments, and I do like to support them too, because I think that's good for the industry and it's good for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Especially like traveling to that event, I mean, in Denver, downtown Denver, there's some cigar lounges in Denver that have a historical significance to the city of Denver. So
Yeah.
you always want to go and support those.
Brown Palace is not necessarily a big shop, but I sometimes will buy some cigars locally at some of the other stores downtown. I'll go over to Brown Palace and smoke there.
Yeah, cigars on Sixth, and then like one of the ones we found was Palma Cigars that actually has a roller there, and they actually have house blends that they make there in the store. That's actually probably one of the best house blend cigars I've ever smoked. I don't know where they source their tobacco. They wouldn't tell me where they source their tobacco from, but they were outstanding cigars.
yeah, I mean that's a good point. There's a few shops that come to mind where I'm like, oh, the house blend was good. And that's the fun part about traveling around and visiting these different shops all over the place is they all got this little hidden. I mean, maybe not every single one, but the majority of them, they all have their own little hidden gem. And you're like, oh, and that's the part I like the most. People ask me like about visiting other retail shops. Everybody kind of has their own little thing that they do, whether it's like a nice little in-house blend or some sort of exclusive that they do, and that's what I get excited about. I'm like, oh, what's this? It's very peculiar because I mean, you walk in, I mean, everyone's gonna carry, all the big names, and they all carry different boutique stuff, and you see, I know what that is, but you look for like the quaint little things. You're like, oh, what's that? Like,
Yep.
oh, this is our. So yeah, that's a good point, Kevin, because that's
Yeah.
true. And there's a lot of good little, and Coop, I'm sure there's little gems everywhere that you find.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, sorry,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say in New York, Paulie DeSilvio, he's the guy who worked on the Chas Palminteri cigar.
Yep.
He does a lot. He does house cigars. He does these barber poles, and they're distributed throughout the city. It's the best barber pole I've had by far. It's the best house cigar I've had. It's amazing.
And that's super cool, to be able to see that, because I mean, there's not a lot of. I know a lot of lounges have house cigars, but there's not a lot of them that you can actually say that about. Of course, I mean, I try to give them a shot when I travel, but you don't always smoke the house blend. I mean, you just don't.
No.
So it's really cool when you find a unique one. One of the things I was going to say, our listeners, when you travel and show the love to these, the local lounges and B&Ms, one of my favorite things to do is scrounge, especially some of the older shops and historical shops. You never know what you're going to find.
Oh, I agree.
You get on the ladder and climb up and start digging through the overhead inventory, or digging underneath the bottom shelf, and you never know what you're going to find. A few years ago, I found some of the original Las Calaveras, a sealed box. It's like, score.
That's true. I can't tell you how many times I've been in that position too. I find stuff and I'm just like, what is this doing here? And I take it because I'm like, that's mine. That's coming home.
Yep. It's like, shit, I didn't want to spend that much money, but I can't leave them here.
Sometimes I think they do it on purpose. They they'll dig stuff out of like a vault humidor, and then they sprinkle it out. It's like, ooh, it's like fishing. It's like, oh, who's going to find the bait today?
You'll occasionally get the ones where you take it up to the register, like, wow, where'd you find that?
Once in a while, or like once in a while.
I still had those.
Yeah, or like once in a while you get the guy who's like, oh, those aren't for sale. I don't know why those were out. And it's like, well, it's on the shelf. I mean, they're like, oh, like those, no, we're saving those. And I'm like, okay. That's happened to me a few times too.
Yep.
But, for the most part, they let you buy it anyway. Yeah, it's true. That's the fun of exploring. I love
Mhm.
exploring shops. If I'm in another city and if there's an opportunity to go to a cigar store, it's not just to get like a cigar, maybe hang out. It's what do they have in there? Like what are they hiding? You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
want to see what are what's lurking in the back of the humidor? Like I want to see. Maybe I'll find a treasure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I like
There
to
you
see the
go.
shop, see the owner, what's their story. How long they've been
Hmm.
around. Then it's like I'm interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, I've had some very good experiences, Kevin, in Vegas with the local cigar shops.
Hmm.
I think Cigar Box was the one that really topped it all for me. Just how we were treated, and the guy brought out the old LaFleurs, and we thought he was trying to sell it to us. He was giving them to us,
Yeah.
which was really nice. So and the other one was Cigar Warehouse. Is it Cigar? That
Cigar.
Cigar
Well,
Warehouse?
yeah, Cigar Warehouse. When my buddy
Yeah,
Roy owns that, but you have Cigar Outlet with Roger, where you went,
Roger.
where
It
you
was
went.
Rogers.
Yeah,
I was at
yeah,
Rogers. Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
Roger is just. I mean, the humidor in that and humidor there. I believe it's the largest west of the Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken. It's 1,750 square feet humidor.
That's
it's
big.
So
huge. It's
so it,
huge.
it's massive.
Yeah, it's huge.
Um. Yeah. I have to say again, like that's you find these little shops, you find these big shops, and you know sometimes the size of these humidors, you walk in and you're just like, wow. Or even like some of the small ones, and you see how much stuff they cram into them, and you're just like, what's going on in here? I
Yeah.
mean, when you just have
What's it?
boxes and boxes just stacked.
What's
It's
like
just
like like Caribbean and Miami? I mean, Allen has literally made like the industry standard, like the industry hangout cigar shop in Miami. You walk in
Yeah.
that place, and there's typically going to be somebody from the industry in there any night of the
You
week.
know,
Hector
it's funny
Alfonso.
because people show up 11:30 at night to have a smoke.
Hmm.
And this ain't like a bar or anything like that. Like Hobby from Placencia comes in there, and Brian
Yeah,
Matola from Cavalier. They just pop in there, and it's like 11:30 at night. Yeah, Allen's open till like 4 in the morning. It's like,
yeah. He'll get out his thing and put on a movie, and the next thing you
yeah,
know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
yeah,
Those are the best shops, though. Those are the best
They are.
shops.
I mean,
they are,
Barbara and I
they are,
love
and
those
You
that's
can't
why,
shops.
beat them.
yeah.
You can't beat them.
No, you can't. I agree.
Um, but anyway, guys, yeah. So that's that covers kind of the trips you guys have both had, and Kevin obviously yours is a little more industry related, but yeah, I mean, I still haven't been anywhere recently, so I have nothing to contribute to the traveling um story arcs here. But you know, I'm glad you guys were able to get some time away and go on some adventures. It's always fun, you know.
Much needed time away.
Yeah,
It
yeah. I
was,
think for both of you, yeah,
yeah, it
yeah.
was. It was definitely. I don't know when I'm getting to Florida again. I'm trying to get down soon, but my schedule's been very tough lately, so it's been hard.
Yeah, you gotta
Are you
get
going to
those
come to
trips into Miami.
Palooza, Coop?
It's up in the air. It's actually a bad time for me to go because they moved it back a couple of weeks, and it's a very busy time for me right before Thanksgiving. So I don't know. I'm not saying no, but it will probably be a last minute call if I do it.
You gotta get all those trips into the Magic City.
Yeah, yeah,
How many
absolutely.
how many trips this year do you have?
I think I've done 5 this year.
Wow.
Maybe
Last
4.
year,
No, 5. 5. 5. I've done
did
5.
did you get 10 last year? I can't remember.
I thought it was like 11 or 12 last year.
Shit. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was doing a lot more day job stuff down there too, which sometimes I was down there for. I
Oh,
have
but you,
some,
I
but
know
I
you
don't have
took
as much this year.
advantage.
I don't have as much this year down there as I did last year, so
You got to see F1 down there last year. That was cool.
I didn't go this year. So
Yeah. No, I know.
I was a babysitter once, so I wasn't gonna be a babysitter again.
So, were you approached to go though?
I didn't put my name on the list.
I'm
that I wanted to.
surprised. It's an opportunity to go to the Magic City and you turned it down. Come on.
You do trade offs.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Dude, I have a 20-minute drive to go to F1, and I'm not going to go. So
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't blame you.
it's. I saw
it's
it.
a,
It's
it's a
good.
shit show here.
It's good. I mean, I'm happy I went. Maybe I'll go again. But yeah.
Well, anyway, there was a couple more things, but I think I might save those for another episode. I think we might, depending on everyone's availability. I think I might try to do another spare notes next weekend too, but we'll have to talk about that. I don't know what everyone's schedule looks like, but yeah, I think this is going to be our stopping point for the evening.
Okay.
Right on.
I just wanted to
Perfect.
say thank you to everyone for watching and listening along, and thank you to you guys for being here with me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Oh, glad that we all got back together tonight. It was good. A lot of fun.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, that's gonna do it for us tonight, guys. So thank you for watching and listening along. And as always, head over to SpokenTobacco.com for more news, reviews, and updates from the cigar industry. And we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Take
See you
care.
guys.